All right. Do you ever feel like stuff is taking over your life? Do you ever feel like you are taking care of the stuff that comes into your home and that it's just you're not even sure where it comes from? You have the thought, is stuff just walking into my home? The answer is probably. I'm going to show you in this episode how to declutter once and for all. How to declutter once and for all. That is the big promise, and that is the goal. And I hope to show you that it is actually not as hard as it may sound. So I'm very, very excited. Today, I'm going to share with you something that I have normally only shared with my clients, and it's the declutter and done method. I like calling it declutter and done because I don't think that we should keep on having to redo the job of get rid of stuff in our house. I think that we should do it once, do it thoroughly, and move on to better things than housework. Okay, so truly, stuff is walking into our homes unless we are super, super intentional about it. I've got a funny story about this. So, years ago, I had just started attending a new church, and my best friend came to visit this church. And so I was watching, and as she was visiting, one of the things they did was they had a free gift to give to new visitors. And so the pastor kind of caught her and said, "Hey," and I'm standing off in the distance and I'm just watching this. And he says, "We have a free gift for you." And I knew what he was saying because I had been on the receiving end of this a few weeks prior. And he handed her a coffee mug and she thanked him. And then when he turned away to go talk to somebody else, she just quietly set the coffee mug back next to the other coffee mugs and walked away. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's brilliant." Because I took the coffee mug home and then I was like, "I've got to get rid of this coffee mug. I don't want this coffee mug." We can stop stuff from coming into our homes. She did it so graciously. There was no waste. She was appreciative of receiving the gift, and then she gave it back so that they could give it to somebody else who actually desired to have another coffee cup in their life. Anyway, I thought that was so funny how just smoothly she did it. I was like, "Oh, looky there. Look at her." By the way, she is quite the minimalist, and always her home is in beautiful order. And that's what I want to talk about today. So, decluttering. If you feel like most of your time is spent either picking up your stuff or putting away your stuff or reminding your kids or your spouse to put their stuff away, you are going to like this episode because stuff, the things in our home, I mean, when you really look at all what we're actually doing, it's the fact that we have so many things that is creating more work from us and keeping us from being able to just sit down, relax at night, and enjoy our family. Now, of course, we need some of the stuff, but we all know that we don't need nearly as much stuff as we have in our homes. We have, 10 to 100 times more stuff than even our grandparents had. And the stuff is walking into your homes. If you check your kids' backpacks, they're bringing stuff home. You're constantly being given a free t-shirt, a free coffee mug, a free bag. I love when I go to do pick up at Sam's Club and they want to give me all these free samples and a free bag to go with it. And so there is this constant stuff walking into our home, and we either need to be aware of it, refuse it, check, do I actually want this, need this, desire this, move on. But when we declutter our stuff, especially with this method that I'm going to show you, we're going to do three things simultaneously. And it's really fun. Number one, we're going to have an easier time taking care of all of the things and more time to do other things. The less time we spend on housework, the more time we get to have fun. And it's important that we recognize that so that we motivate ourselves. Number two, we're going to actually appreciate what remains more and then enjoy taking care of it more. One of the things, if you'll notice, the difference between like our kids who live in a time of abundance and previous generation of kids, like the daughters, our girls might have only had one doll. our boys might have only had one or two Hot Wheel cars or just a couple of toy soldiers or things like that. Back in the day, 30 years ago, there were so fewer, maybe 40, maybe 50, maybe I need to go back a little bit further. So fewer things, but the kids were just as happy because they just used their imagination to fill in the gap. And we can use our items as multiple purpose. Do you know that if kids come over to my house where I have no toys, there are blankets and pillows for them to play with? There was a time when my kids were playing with Tupperware dishes and mixing bowls and mixing spoons and mixing cups because we were in a place where all of our stuff hadn't arrived and that's what they had to play with. And so they were in the kitchen. And I just gave them plastic things to play with because they couldn't break them. And they had fun with it and they made a lot of noise and had a lot of fun. So we appreciate what remains more. We really do. We get more enjoyment out of it and we enjoy taking care of it more. And then, and this is number 3, I actually love, and this really, really benefits me. We automatically cut back on shopping and we end up saving money. So if we have limits in our life that we voluntarily chose and we adhere to, then that kind of slows down the intake of all the stuff. Instead of just going shopping and thinking, oh yeah, I probably better grab this because it's on sale, we will think, do I want this more than what I have at home? And then, because the biggest sale is the stuff that we don't buy. All right. So those are some of the reasons why I want you to think of decluttering and how much it can benefit your life. It can really cut back on how much work is in the home. Also, here are some decluttering mistakes we make that give us this idea that decluttering is not the answer. Maybe we should avoid it. So if you feel like you've fallen into these traps, I just want you to be aware of it before I reveal what the method is. So mistake number 1 is this. We start in too big of an area. Do you ever say, I'm going to declutter this kitchen. It's just a mess. And you pull everything out of the cabinets and you set it on the counter. And then your kids need something. And then somebody calls you and there's an emergency that comes up. And then something else happens. And before you know it, it is supper time. And all the stuff is sitting on the counters. And you're like, oh my gosh. And you just put it all back to where it was. And you feel like, well, that was a waste. That was too much work. Yeah, let's not do that. And by the way, I have done that more than once, which was why I just gave up for a while. I'm like, it doesn't work. I must not know how to get rid of stuff. I can't do it. I'm going to show you how to do it, even if you only have 15 minutes. Okay. Oh, here's decluttering mistake number 2. We start with someone else's stuff, which is going to trigger a fight. Because let's be honest, it's not our stuff that's a problem. It's their stuff. It's their stuff that's annoying us. It's our stuff that we like. We want to keep all of our stuff. And we want them to get rid of their stuff. So we have more room for our stuff. Oh, I'm being a little facetious, but it's real talk here. Other people's stuff, where it's easier for us to get rid of other people's stuff because we are less emotionally attached to other people's stuff. And so I just want you to be aware of it. I call this secret ops, the secret desire to get rid of other people's stuff, OPS. Just hold yourself back. Be aware of it. Catch yourself when you're about to do it. Focus on your stuff first. I promise you that if you will follow those methods with just your stuff, it'll make a huge difference. And then 3, what makes decluttering really, really feel hard is this. We tend to focus on what we're letting go of, like, am I okay getting rid of this? Am I okay letting go of this spatula? Well, what if I need this spatula? What if my favorite spatula is dirty and my backup favorite spatula is dirty and I need a 3rd spatula, or somebody's walked off with my 3rd spatula and I want a 4th spatula? Do I dare really let this go and then might have to replace it. It's my backup to my backup to my backup. So when we're decluttering, we're really working against ourselves emotionally by accidentally triggering fears, fears of loss, fears of letting go, fears of missing out. And so that's why when I did this decluttering method, I rewrote that a little bit so that instead of focusing on what we're letting go of, when you declutter this way, it's going to feel like you're going on a shopping spree of your own stuff. Doesn't that sound like more fun? It's so much more fun. All right, so this is how we're going to declutter in a way that's enjoyable. So decluttering, I hope to convince you that decluttering can be fun if you will just follow this simple 5-step declutter and done process. So in fact, that's what I really want you to focus on. Think of it as going on a shopping spree of your own stuff. So to do the decluttering and done method, I want you to work in 15-minute increments. I mean, yes, if you got small kids at home, anybody, you can still get interrupted in 15 minutes, but even if you're interrupted, you'll be coming back to a 15-minute task instead of an overwhelming task. So you want to think, I want to be done with this in 15 minutes. And so step number 1 is to pick a small area. For example, in the kitchen example, we don't start with the entire kitchen. We start with one drawer, like maybe dish towels and dish rags, or maybe cooking utensils, or maybe baking dishes, or maybe Tupperware, something like that. Start with one very small specific area. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is this. You're going to set a limit. So this is kind of funny. I don't want you to even look at your stuff yet. I want you to pick a small area in your mind's eye, in your mind, and set a limit. So let's say that you're doing cooking utensils, the spatulas and the tongs and the stirring spoons and the ladles and all those things. When you set the limit, I just want you to pick a number that seems enough for you. It sounds like it's enough. So off the top of my head, I'm thinking the number 30. Okay. So now I go over to that drawer or that place where I've got all those things, get all those things together. And step number 3 is start shopping your favorites. So I take all that stuff, put it in a pile, and I just start counting. Ooh, I love the spatula. Oh, these are my favorite tongs. Yes, I want the second one of these favorite tongs because I use both of them all the time. Oh, I use this all the time too, and I love it. Oh, I use this too all the time, and I love it. And you're just counting. You're just shopping. It's almost like you're playing, like you're getting married and you're shopping the registry. Ooh, I want this and I want this, but you're shopping your own stuff instead of creating a list for other people to shop for you. And you might, as you're going through this, find something that you're like, oh, I want to replace that. Oh, we'll save a spot for that. Oh, here's my favorite pizza cutter. This is the one I always grab for. This is my favorite vegetable peeler. This is my favorite knife. This is my favorite serving brownie spatula. I love those little tiny brownie spatulas. I think I have 3 of them, in fact, because I love to use them for everything. And you just count. And then when you're done, when you reach that number, whatever that number is, you'll know. Then you're like, okay, now you've got your favorites. These are your favorites. So step number 4 is to just bag up the rest. And you can confidently bag up the rest because you know that you always grab these favorites the first all the time anyway. And then the step number 5 is just to put everything back in either a neat or a pretty way. I'll let you decide what that looks like. Sometimes, like if I were cleaning off a counter, I might then decide to put like a pretty fruit basket arrangement in the middle of it to remind me to maintain it, to keep it cleared like this, or a candle. Or you might grab a container and organize your stuff. I don't want you to go too long. We're only spending 15 minutes here, but just put it back in a neat or pretty way. Whatever looks good to you. Just the stuff that's there. You're done. Now, you not only decluttered, you automatically organized it too. And you're done in 15 minutes. And if you got interrupted, you don't have too much of a mess to clean up. Instead of focusing on what you're losing, you focused on identifying your favorite items. So it felt like fun. And you kept it easy. You kept it fun. And so now you can just repeat it again. If you have another 15 minutes, go to another area because you're training your brain that this is not hard. This is actually a little bit fun. This isn't hard. This is a little bit fun. And then finally, this is the best part. Because you set that limit, it's super easy to maintain your decluttering progress with a 1 in, 1 out rule. As in, if I bring something new home, I'm going to get rid of something. So therefore, if I love all the stuff that I already have, I don't need to go shopping for new stuff. But if my spatula breaks, if I melt it, if it gets lost, then I get to shop for a new one. 1 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out. That's how you maintain it easily. All right. The 5 steps again of the declutter and done method. You pick a small area, something that can be done in 15 minutes or less. Number 2, you just set a limit. You pick the limit. You pick the number that makes sense to you. Then 3, you shop your favorites. 4, you bag up the rest, the stuff that was not your favorites. And then 5, you put your stuff back in a neat or a pretty way. That's it. And it should be done in 15 minutes or less. And every single day that you open that drawer, you get to reinforce this, that I am becoming more and more organized. My home is becoming more and more easy to take care of. Look at this. So simple, so nice, so clean. Okay, you guys, I promise this will work. I did my big decluttering purge 10 years ago, at least 10 years ago. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was 10 years ago. I've never had to redo it. I have replaced things. And we did downsize to an apartment, but even when we downsized from a 4,000 square foot house down to I think we're in about 1,100 square feet apartment, it was mostly furniture and decorations that I got rid of. We had fewer rooms. We needed less furniture. We had fewer rooms to hang things on walls. That's it. That's all it takes. It's just a simple process that you do over and over again. And let me say this, because I just realized one of the reasons that we hang on to so many things is because our favorites are in the dishwasher all the time. Okay, run your dishwasher daily. It's just easier and simpler that way. And then we can have fewer things. And it's also easier to empty out a dishwasher that's not overstuffed, but that we wash daily than one that's 2 or 3 days old. And then we're running out of our favorites. Same thing with laundry, same thing. You'll find that the less stuff you live with and the more often you maintain, the easier it is to maintain, as a maintenance becomes, keeping your home clean becomes, instead of something that takes hours every weekend, just takes minutes a day. And you're always using your favorite things. And you just really appreciate it. And your home starts to take on this air of really being a reflection of who you are and what you're about right now in this stage of life. It's a very cozy way to live. All right. So that is the Declutter and Done method in a nutshell. That is, if you hear me talking about on social media about decluttering in a way where it feels like you're going on a shopping spree of your own stuff, this is what I'm talking about. I hope this helps. Let me know if, in fact, I should issue a 15-minute challenge. Take the 15-minute decluttering challenge. Do one area this week. 15 minutes. Take the 15-minute decluttering challenge and let me know how it goes. And let me know if you have any problems. I'd be glad to answer any questions that might come up. All right. I hope this has helped, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.